Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'll be sharing with you guys how I recreated this two-piece kimono set using Ankara and a crepe fabric. I'll also be sharing with you guys the changes that I made while we're drafting sew along so that you know the best way to go about recreating yours. So if you'd like to see how I recreated mine, definitely keep watching. Do not forget to like and share the video, and let's get right into the tutorial. For this tutorial, I'm working with Ankara and a crepe fabric. My Ankara here is 3 meters and the crepe fabric is about 2 meters. If you'll be using Ankara for your kimono, make sure that the pattern on your Ankara will allow you cut on all sides. I have folded my fabric into 2 selvage to selvage first, then I folded it into 2 again lengthwise for the front and back panel. So I have here 4 folds and the width measured 22.5 inches, and you know the width of Ankara is by 45 inches. If you've been following this channel, you know that the back panel is always higher than the front, which is what I'm showing you here to have a balanced fit on your shoulder. So I'm going to take out the back panel and we start with the front. With my tape on the shoulder line, I came down at 28 inches for my hip level and 57 inches for the full length of the kaftan or kimono, plus extra 1.5 inches for hemming. On the center front, I came in by 0.75 inches, and this will serve as my seam allowance to hem the split. With my tape on the new center front line, I went out by 3.25 inches for my neck width. I'll make a point there, and I use the neck depth of 8 inches. The reason I'm using 3.25 inches is because I'm going to take the seam allowance from this neckline so that when I'm done sewing, my neck width will be 3.75 inches. With my tape on the shoulder line, I'll come down 2 inches for my shoulder slope. I'll connect this point back to the neckline, and with my tape on the 2 inches shoulder slope point, I will go down 9.5 inches for my sleeve opening and make a point there. On this line, I will place 2 inches the width of my turn-up sleeve and go in by 6 inches and make a point there. I will measure what I have here from the center front line to this point and place that measurement on my hip line and make a point there. Then I'll connect these 2 points with a straight line. So this is one of the changes that I made. The initial measurement from the center front to the side was 18 inches. So I came in by 3 inches at that armhole, making my center front to that point 15 inches. And then I curved it back into the hip line, giving it this S kind of shape. So it's up to you to decide if you want yours straight or curved. At the hem of the kaftan or kimono, from the center front line, I placed 13 inches. I'll go ahead and draw in the shape of this kaftan. So guys, that was all I did for the front panel. Like I earlier mentioned, it's up to you to decide whether you want it straight from the armhole or curved. I'll go ahead and cut it out and use it as a template to cut the back panel. I have placed the front panel on the back, and the only adjustment we are going to do here is on the neckline and on the shoulder. If you have been following this channel, you know that our back panels are always higher than the front to give us that balanced fit around our shoulder. I've also pinned in the seam allowance of the front panel to properly align it to the center back panel. I also replaced the neck depth of the front on the back panel and square out the original shoulder line. With my tape on this line, I will go up by 1.5 inches and square out this point. Then I'm maintaining the same neck width of 3.25 inches. I will square out this point and join my back neckline. With my tape on the shoulder line of the front panel, not on the seam allowance line, on the shoulder line, I will go up by 1.5 inches along the shoulder and connect these points with a straight line. This line becomes my back shoulder line. So guys, that's practically all I did for the back panel. I'll go ahead and add my 1/2 inch seam allowance around the neckline and shoulder, cut it out and make necessary notches. I'll use this piece to cut out the turn-up piece for the sleeve. My fabric here is folded into 2 at 16 inches, and this includes my front crotch extension plus seam allowance, and I've gone ahead and marked important points. This trouser is really high-waisted, meaning I'll be wearing it above my navel. From the waistline to the first line, which is my hip line, is 10 inches. Then the second line, which is the crotch depth, is 12 inches. Then the full length of the trouser is 44 inches. Then from the crotch depth to the hem of the trouser, I found the midpoint for my knee level. The hip circumference I'm working with is 48 inches, and 1/4 of that is 12 inches plus half-inch joining allowance on the side, that's 12.5 inches. If you minus it from the 16 inches my fabric is folded at, that leaves me with 3.5 inches. These 3.5 inches will serve as my front crotch extension plus half-inch joining allowance, so I'll make a point there. When I'm making baggy pants like this, I usually calculate the crotch extension using 1/4 of my original hip measurement as against 1/4 of the hip measurement I'm working with. This helps reduce excess fabric around the crotch area as I'm working with a hip measurement that is much more bigger than my original hip measurement. My original hip measurement is 40 inches and 1/4 of that is 10 inches. Divide this 10 by 4 gives me 2.5 inches. So I added extra half-inch to it, making it 3 inches because the hip measurement I'm working with is quite big, plus half-inch joining allowance, making it 3.5 inches, which was what you saw me marked. So I'm going to place 1/4 of the hip measurement I'm working with in this tutorial plus half-inch joining allowance, which in my case is 12.5 inches on the waistline, and connect this point with a straight line down to the crotch line. On the waistline, instead of placing the hip circumference here, because this trouser will be worn above my navel and my waist circumference around that area is 29 inches, so hip measurement here will be too much, so I minus 1 inch from the hip measurement, and in my case it's 11 inches. I'll place that measurement here and connect it back to the hip line. I'll go ahead and draw in my front crotch curve. You can go ahead and freehand style your own, but I like to divide these points into 2 to get a better front crotch curve. I'll measure what I have on the crotch line. I will place this same measurement at the hem of the trouser and on the knee line as well, and connect with a straight line. On the waistline from the side seam, I came in by 2 inches for the width of the pocket, and I went down 5 inches for the pocket depth, and I connected these 2 points with a straight line. So this was all I did for the front panel, and I went ahead to cut it out. And at this point, I didn't realize the width of my waistband was included in this measurement. So guys, it was at this point that I realized that the width of my waistband was included in the measurement. So I went back and cut out the 2 inches width of my waistband and replaced my pocket measurement. But then I didn't cut out the shape of the pocket until we are done drafting the back panel. So guys, this was another change that I made. Initially, the idea was to wear the trouser above my navel, hence I used the hip level of 10 inches and the crotch depth of 12, but I didn't like the way the trouser sat on me, and I'm not used to wearing my trouser above my navel. I usually wear it below, so I went back to my normal hip level of 8 inches and the crotch depth of 10 inches, which is what I am showing you here. So depending on where you'll be placing the waistband of your trouser, please do make sure to take your measurements correctly. My fabric is folded into 2, and I've placed the front panel to serve as a template to draft out the back panel. And here I'm marking the waistline and squaring out the side seam properly. From the center front line of the front panel, I'm going to place half of my bust band divided by 2. For me is 2 inches, and I'll square up that point. On this line, with my tape on the waistline of the front, I'll place the same measurement of 2 inches here and make a point. With my tape on this point, I will tilt it till it touches the waistline of the front, and I'll place the same waist measurement I placed on the front panel here, which was 11 inches. I'll connect these 2 points with a straight line, and this line becomes my back waistline. On the hip line, I will go out by 1 inch from the side seam of the seam allowance all the way down to the hem of the trouser and connect with a straight line. On the back crotch line here, from the front inseam, I have 3 inches remaining, so I'm going to use the whole 3 inches, and this includes my ½ inch joining allowance. At the point where the center front line touches the crotch line on the front panel, I will go out by 2 inches. This will serve as a guide to help me draw the center back line. On the knee line from the inseam of the front panel, I placed 1 inch. I placed the same measurement at the hem and connected with a straight line. To draw the inseam of the back panel, I measured the inseam of the front and minus 0.25 inch from it. The reason for this is because the back inseam is slightly cut on a bias, so it stretches. So I placed that on the back just like you see me doing in the video. If you measure the difference between this new crotch line and the original crotch line, there is a ½ inch difference, which is what prevents your trouser from entering in between your butt cheeks. So with these 2 new points now, I'm going to draw in the back center line. So guys, this was all I did for the back panel. I'll go ahead and cut it out. The only place I'll be adding seam allowance is on the waistline and on the center back, as the other places already have seam allowance included in their measurement, and I'll be cutting out the pocket pieces and the waistband off camera. Here are all the pieces we'll be needing for this tutorial. For the trouser, I have my elastic, I have the waistband cut and fold, I have my pocket, then I have the front and back panel. I will not be showing the sewing part of this trouser because I already have a similar tutorial up on my channel. I'll leave the link to that video in the description. For the kimono itself, I have these 2 strips for the neckline. I have another strip that is cut on fold for the sleeve. Then I have the front and back panels. I'm going to start by attaching the strip on the neckline. The width of the strip measured 3 inches, and this includes 1 inch seam allowance. I've already ironed in ½ inch seam allowance I will use to top stitch the strip on the neckline. So with the right side of the strip to the wrong side of the Ankara, I'll go ahead and attach with a straight stitch. Once that is done, I will top stitch the seam allowance on the Ankara. Flip the strip to the right side of the Ankara and pin in place, then attach with a straight stitch. So guys, I've attached the strip. I'll go ahead and join the 2 pieces together, but first I will pin it in place with pin to make sure that the V of the strip matches. I've pinned the 2 pieces in place and the strip of my V matches. I'm going to stitch it close to about 5 inches. This place depends on how open or closed you want yours to be. So this was another change that I made. After I was done sewing, the 5 inches was too close for my liking, so I reduced it to 4 inches. I also redid the strip at the center front and reduced it from 4 inches to 3.5 inches, which is the clip you're seeing right now. So it all depends on your preference. I'll take this to my sewing machine and attach with a straight stitch. I have stitched close the center front, and this is what it's looking like. Before I go ahead and hem the slit, I'll take it to my ironing table and give it a good press. So guys, I've done all that I said. The front panel is ready. The next thing I'm going to do is to attach the back panel to the front. but before then I'll go ahead and pipe the neckline of the back panel. I have piped the back neckline. Now I'm going to assemble the front and back panel first at the shoulders, after which I will attach this strip on the sleeve. I have attached the strip to the sleeve. I will go ahead and stitch close the sides of the kaftan. So guys, I've stitched close the sides of the kimono or kaftan and have finished off the hem, but then I didn't like the way the strip of the crepe looked on the sleeve. It was very light, so I went ahead and prepared another strip, but this time with the crepe and the ankara. And you can see from this other sleeve that it gave it a little stability, and I reduced the width of the strip to 1.5 inches. So I'm going to take down this one and replace it with a new strip, and I'll be sewing this off camera. So guys, I'm done attaching the strip, and these are my final measurements. So from the edge of the sleeve to where I started curving it back into the hip line measured 7.5 inches, and then my mid back to the length of my sleeve measured 23 inches. So guys, this is the trouser all sewn. I decided to make mine baggy because I'll be using this trouser for other purpose, so feel free to sew yours according to your preference. On how to sew this trouser, I already have the tutorial on my channel. I'll leave the link in the description. It's the same method, the same cutting. The only difference between these two is just in the hip measurement. So I'll let you guys watch the rest of the video. Do not forget to like and share the video if you find it helpful. Leave all your questions in the comment section. Subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you guys in my next one. A bientôt!